Hi there. Welcome to another Landlord Gurus podcast video. Today we're doing another property management software comparison. We've done some in the past where we've talked about whether it's Avail or Zillow or some other ones. So today we're gonna do a comparison. We're gonna talk about Zillow Rental Manager, which many of you have used, and we're gonna talk about TurboTenant and kind of compare the pros and cons and the features and benefits, and kind of hopefully that'll give you some background so that you can make a decision on your own about what software might be best for you and what things you might be looking for in your property management software. So I'm Chris. We've got Eli here as well, and I'll just remind everybody it's a good time to like and subscribe if you like these videos. Get notifications so when the next ones come out, you get notified for that as well. So yeah, so just I'll start it off with just a general, we've talked about property management software before. We think it's a great way to manage your rentals. There's a lot of different features that come with some of these that allow you to kind of manage the day-to-day processes of managing your rentals. So we think that there are a lot of benefits to it. There are a lot of different ones out there.
We've written about most of them. If you want to dig, there's lots on our site about a lot of the major players out there. So
exactly. And some of them are great. Some of them, do some things that others might not do. So there's definitely some benefits to a lot of the different ones. It's just a matter of what we say is find the one, or maybe there's multiple ones that you like that address, kind of your needs for how you manage your rentals. And maybe that's an emphasis on collecting rent, or maybe that's an emphasis on communications, or an emphasis on accounting, bookkeeping. Yeah. So sort of depends on you. So we'll just offer kind of what we'll talk about today. We'll talk about Zillow and we'll talk about TurboTenant. And you can look through some of the others. So anyway, I'll start off with Zillow. I'm sure everybody has seen Zillow and has used various different portions of Zillow, whether it's on the buying side of things, looking for homes, or whether it's using what they call a Zillow rental manager, which is what allows landlords to manage their rental properties. And a lot of people are familiar with the listing features, the advertising features, where you post your vacancies. And so I'll start off there with the listings and advertisings. You can post your vacancies through their platform. It then automatically shows up on the Zillow search feature. It shows up on Trulia, and it shows up on HotPads. And so they claim that between those three sites, there's over 300 million, or I'm sorry, over 30 million visitors each month that use those. So what they're saying is there's a lot of eyeballs on your listing if you list them.
And that bears out. We've had that experience, and we've advertised on lots of different platforms. And I have to say that it is where most of my leads come from. Is that?
Yeah, you get a lot of inquiries. A lot of people see it from one of those three platforms, but it's not everything. There are others out there, and I get leads from some of those others as well. And in many cases, I might get more leads from Zillow, but at the end of the day, the person that ends up renting the apartment might have come from a different platform. So
right.
With Zillow, it's pretty easy to create listings. You log into your rental manager, your dashboard, and you can set up your property, set up your unit, put in your descriptions, upload photos. All the different platforms are relatively straightforward in this regard, and they're all very similar. Some of them differ by what you got to set up first, whether it's your property and then the different units underneath that property address and things like that. And that's how Zillow does it. Yeah. Through their platform, you can communicate with potential tenants. That's where when they see the property, they might click on a button that says, hey, I'm interested, and it sends you that message. It comes through email for me, but also in the platform, so I can just log into the platform and I see their messages and I can respond back and forth within the platform, as opposed to having a bunch of different emails to communicate. But I think we've talked about this before with Zillow. You get a lot of, when we say tire kickers, where people click that button and say, hey, I'm interested, I want more information, or I want to schedule a showing, or I want to apply right off the bat without even knowing anything about it. When you respond with communications or with, sometimes with your pre-screening questions, which we've talked about before, you don't get responses. I know that happens to me a lot. I know, Eli, you've mentioned that a lot as well. And
it's literally, I think it's a one button feature for the renter, and it's pre-scripted, which it says, I think maybe there are a couple options, like, hey, is this still available? Yeah. Or, that type of thing. Like, I'm interested. The gist of it is, and you'll get many of the same message from different people who are casting out.
Right. So they may be looking and seeing a property and saying, oh, cool, hit the button. And they go off to a different property and they see a picture. Oh, it looks cool. And then, it goes. So, and then after they've done this 10 times or 15 times or whatever, they've probably forgotten what property this is about.
If they read the listing thoroughly to begin with, which,
exactly.
I'm guilty of that type of thing too, but there's a bit of spam, and that's not saying you shouldn't advertise there. You should.
Yeah. So, by making it really easy for the potential tenants for them to see properties and to see your property, they make it really easy, but at the same time, sometimes it's a little too easy, which, there's the balance there. But again, like I said, it's still worth it to do it. So one of the benefits there is it's free to list your property. There are premium paid upgrades that are available, which they say gives increased exposure. I think maybe it shows up higher in the search results. They give you what they say are listing and pricing insights, and you also get premium support. And all that costs, I think the last time we looked, it was $29.99 for 30 days.
90 days. I
Sorry,
think
90 days. You're right.
it's 90 days. Yeah.
And that's a key
Mhm.
thing there. 90 days, but you can't prorate it. So if you get it rented out in 30 days, you're not getting 2/3 of that money back. So that's what I think the advertising and listing are what most people are familiar with when it comes to Zillow. But through Zillow, you can also do your tenant screening. And we see this a lot where tenants say, I'm interested, I want to apply. And you can send them the application and they can put in their information and generate a screening report right off the bat. It's free for landlords to get a screening report. The applicant pays, I think, $35. But they can do it right off the bat. They can send that to you either before they've seen it, which we don't recommend you allow them to do. But also if once they've seen it and they say they want to apply, then you can send them a link, which is what we do recommend. And then from that link, they can then apply and you get the screening report, which comes with a credit report, a criminal background check, and an eviction history.
And actually, I think, Chris, doesn't Zillow allow a tenant, once they paid, to reuse that report a certain number of times?
Yeah, or within a certain range, like within 30 days or something. I think that's how they used to do it. I'm not, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's still the case or not.
And I don't, in practice, when I've run into that, somebody said, hey, I've got this report, can I send it to you? I generally don't accept that because I'm not sure of the provenance. It's something that they have and they're emailing to me as opposed to something that comes from the platform.
Right.
I generally don't accept.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's the distinction. If they print it out and when they show up with it on paper, again, who knows where that came from. Same with,
Yeah.
a PDF that they've emailed. But
Right.
you're
Yeah.
right. If you are going to allow that, make sure it comes from the platform.
Yeah. And generally you see it in the platform.
Right.
When you invite somebody to, or both of these companies, if you invite somebody to apply, then they'll fill out the application on that platform and pay for the screening report. And then it comes to you, you can see it on the platform. So that's the way I generally require people do it.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. One thing that Zillow Rental Manager, another benefit that they have, another feature that they have, are if you do decide to move forward with that applicant, you can create your leases and do the electronic signings directly through the platform. So they say that you can create and customize an online lease using their lease builder. You just have to answer a few questions. I do find this is limited to some states. So depending on where you are, you can do this. And it's not every state where they have this. So
changing.
It is changing.
They're adding.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that respect, it's getting better. It used to be like, when we first started looking at it, it was like 5 states. And then it was just a generic lease, which we've talked about before is not very good for landlords, right? It doesn't really protect you. So if you wanted to do a lease through Zillow, check out where they do it and what states they allow it and whether that matches up with where you are.
And ideally read it over and with a good knowledge of your local laws and make sure that while it may have a Washington lease, they may not have a Seattle lease. And that you have to do with pretty much any of these companies that provide, with any provider of lease documents. You need to do your own due diligence and be up on what's legal where you are or illegal and make sure that you're getting the real thing, getting something
for sure. Yeah, or conversely, you can upload your own lease. So if you have a lease that you use that is rock solid from where you are in your location, and that's what you've been using, you can go ahead and upload that one, and then it still allows the tenant to sign online. They also offer templates for specific regions and different addenda for pets or parking or whatnot. So you'd have to go and see if they've got what you need, but they've got a handful of sort of the main ones.
Yeah.
You can also, with Zillow Rental Manager, you can collect rent online. Your rent payments would get deposited directly to your account within 3 to 5 business days. They do have an auto pay that the renters can set up so that the payments get sent automatically every month. It is free for landlords. It's also free for tenants if they pay via ACH. So that's a good benefit.
Which is electronic. That's electronic funds
transfer. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically.
If they want to pay with a credit or debit card, they can through Zillow, but there is a fee. And I don't know exactly what it is off the top of my head. I'm sure it's, that percentage and then plus possibly another flat fee on top of that.
That's common as well. 3 to 4% is common for most credit card or debit card. transactions.
Exactly. But it is a good benefit for those tenants that do want to pay with credit card. That fee gets charged to the tenant as well, to be clear.
Yes.
Zillow also comes with various pricing tools. I'm sure everyone's seen their Zillow Zestimate when you're looking for a house. They also have a Rent Zestimate, which is a free comparison tool. It's a decent starting point to get your rent pricing, and it'll come up with some comps and some other things that you can then customize. But you really do want to, and we've done other videos about how to do your own rent pricing and various different tools that are out there. The Rent Zestimate's a good one to start with, but definitely you want to check around and you want to do your own due diligence for that.
It's a pretty simple tool
Yeah.
compared to some of the others that are out there,
Exactly.
like Rentcast or is one of our partners, and they do. It's much more in depth. There are more comps. There's more detail. It would give you graphs of the range and all that type of thing. So
Yeah, the size of the unit, how many bedrooms, and whether amenities and things like that all need to be taken into consideration. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then finally with Zillow, the cost. Again, like it's free if you want it that way, but if you want the premium features and the premium exposure, again, that's $30 for 90 days. So. And then real quick, I'll just run down the pros and cons. Pros, free listings. Again, we talked about you get basic landlord property management features, the rent collection, tenant screening, tenant management features. They do have a nice showing scheduling tool, so you can identify the times that you're available to show vacancy, and then you can direct people there and they can sign up for those slots, so you don't have to spend too much time going back and forth. It's fairly easy to use, pretty simple interface for a lot of landlords. It's kind of ideal. And there's a mobile app as well for iOS and Android.
It's a little clunky.
A little bit clunky, but it's there. I don't use it. I just do it all on my computer. But
yeah,
and the cons are that the premium listings can be expensive, and they're not prorated if you don't need the full 90 days.
And it's per vacancy.
Per unit, exactly.
Per unit, yeah.
Yeah. And then the features are limited, right? You really just get those basic features that we talked about. It might not be sufficient for landlords with multiple properties. Again, the leases are not available in all states. There's no real financial tracking or reporting functionality, and not really any good maintenance request functionality where, the tenant could upload photos or video and, where you can loop in your vendors and things like that. So if you need that, Zillow doesn't really fit for you. But
yeah, so safe to say, Chris, that in a sentence or two, that Zillow's strength is really advertising, reaching potential renters.
Yep.
And from there, they have a lot of these kind of tools that are good. They're not super deep and robust, but they're good and useful. They'll let you collect rent online and do e-signatures. So
Yep. And then you're still probably doing your own spreadsheets and things like that as well, though.
Yep. Okay, so I'll talk a bit about TurboTenant. So right off the bat, I mean, TurboTenant does everything that Chris just described. So on the advertising front, they syndicate out to a long list of advertising sites. So it'll go to apartments.com. That's one where I get quite a few of my leads when I advertise on TurboTenant. And for the record, I advertise on Zillow because that's where a lot of leads come from. But I'd rather not do it in two places, but I do. I also put my listings up on TurboTenant, which gets me to apartments.com and Redfin, which I think is kind of trying to grow into rentals more and more. They actually set up a Craigslist ad automatically, which is kind of cool. And I've actually gotten some leads that way.
Yeah. I'd still get leads from Craigslist as well. Yeah.
Yep. And then you don't have to do the ad on Craigslist as well, which is what I used to do. So
right. Yeah.
It's not to have to do that. So, and a whole list of other syndication sites as well. So you reach a lot of home shoppers or apartment lookers, but there are an awful lot that you could miss if you don't also do it on Zillow. So, and depending on, for me, the time of the year, the urgency, and the general market conditions, I sometimes pay on Zillow and I sometimes don't pay. So I've got some units coming up here. It's, right now it's December. I'm going to have units on the market coming on the market in the next couple of weeks. I'm probably going to pay. So. I don't know. How do you do that, Chris?
I generally don't pay for Zillow.
Don't pay, yeah. And then showings, they also have a nice feature, the same feature where you can set your showing times and people can sign up for them. And similarly, when somebody has expressed interest, and for me, I require them to view the apartment. Occasionally, I'll do a virtual tour, but that have to have seen the apartment. But if they've done that, they want to go ahead and they've met my pre-screening requirements. That's a nice thing actually with TurboTenant is that they have an automatic pre-screener. So somebody sends an inquiry and TurboTenant sends a list of questions back to them automatically, which for me include, do you have any animals? do you smoke in any form? Do you make at least 2.5 or 3
Right.
times the monthly rent, and those types of things. And when are you looking to move? So automatically sends those back, which, as we've talked about, is a great way to kind of weed down the pool of people who are inquiring to people who will right off the bat, you're establishing whether or not they have meet basic requirements.
Right. You don't want to waste their time. You don't want to waste your time, that kind of thing.
And that's before even showing,
Yeah.
before even scheduling a showing. So assuming that's all gone well, then you just send them the link to the application. And just like Zillow, they fill out the application, they pay for screening reports, which then get sent directly to me. It is a little more expensive. It costs, depending on whether or not the landlord is paying for a subscription or not. If they are, then the tenant pays $45, which I think was it $35 for.
So I think it's 35. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's 55 if the landlord does not
Right.
have a subscription that they're paying for. But in any case, it's free to the landlords. So
Yeah.
same price that on that front. TurboTenant does have quite a good set of documents. They do 50 state leases, all 50 states. That they have leases that are tailored to all 50 of the states. And again, you want to do your due diligence, like even here in Washington, if you're in Seattle or Tacoma or Everett, there are specific laws in those places that are layered on top of the state laws. So you want to make sure that if you're, in a place that has a lot of landlord tenant law activity, that you're up on that. So,
yeah. But for a lot of people, the kind of standard state specific leases are perfectly good. And
for most states.
Yeah, exactly.
Most states, yeah, that's true.
Right. So if you're in one of those, it could be just, you take it right off the rack, you enter their questions or answer their questions, and it sort of spits out that lease specific for you and your state.
Exactly. And actually, a really cool thing that they just recently added was the move-in. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but move-in inspection report. So the condition report.
Right.
So that form that you provide, I've always, until just recently, in paper, provided to tenants to fill out where they record whether or not there are any defects or issues, so that it's established at the beginning of the tenancy and then can be referred to at the end of the tenancy. We're required here to provide that. I think most places do require it. With TurboTenant, which also has an app, and the app's good. I wouldn't say it's the best app that I use, but it's pretty good. And the tenants, as they move in, they can fill it out. And then it's, along with the leases,
Right, yeah. They can do it right on their phone, and it gets uploaded immediately, right? So there are
reminders.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing for me, is to remember to get the condition report back, because I cannot stand there and watch. I've stood there and watched people fill those things out far too many times in my life to ever do it again. And it's a lot to do all at once, to stand there and do it. So I usually just have to tell people to get it done within the first week.
Yeah.
Okay. So backtracking a little bit, with leases and documents, you can either use theirs, and they have, as I say, good leases. They also send the local landlord tenant law pamphlet and the lead-based paint pamphlet. I'm not sure if Zillow does that or not. I suspect maybe some of those did. Yeah. No, you don't think so? Yeah.
I don't think so.
So TurboTenant sends those automatically, whether you are using their lease builder or you're uploading your own lease, which is what I do, being in Seattle here, where there's so much going on, with landlord tenant law. So both Chris and I belong to the local RHA, Rental Housing Association, and they're on top of keeping up to date with those current laws. So I use that as the lease, and then I upload it. But the e-signature then is just like DocuSign. It gets sent off, and
right.
So,
and I think TurboTenant does charge for those leases or the signatures, I guess, when you use it, unless you're on the premium plan.
Yeah, $59 per lease, unless you're on one of the paid plans, and we'll talk about how that works. But it gets to be pretty affordable to have a subscription, and then the leases are included. So, like Zillow, you can collect your rent with TurboTenant, same bank-to-bank transfer functionality. There are fees with credit cards or debit cards, automatic late reminders, and also late fee assessment. You can turn rent payment on and off. You can block rent payment if you're in the midst of an eviction proceeding and you don't want to accept any payment. And if you're a paying subscriber, then you can get expedited payments. So they'll take kind of 1 to 2 days from the time that the tenant initiates it, as instead of 3 to 5,
right,
which are pretty standard times in the industry, bank transfer industry. That's generally what that takes. So, but you can pay to have it be quicker.
Exactly. The
Um,
ACH fees for the tenants, I think, and again, you probably know more about the cost for that, but with it's free, right? The tenants don't have to pay for ACH if you are on that premium plan.
right.
Otherwise, I think it's $2, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, per transfer, which I've done in the past. It was that way with Avail. I've also used Avail, and at that point, I just adjusted the rent amount by the $2.50 that Avail was charging. So they would pay me $2.50 less, but they would pay that $2.50 to Avail. I
Right.
subsidized it, but as I've started using TurboTenant, I decided that I wanted the extra functionality and I wanted to be able to use the e-signing. So then I paid for a membership.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also provide rent roll and kind of some accounting functionality. And the most robust is through a partnership that they have with REI Hub. And that is another software company. They fold the functionality in, when you pay additionally. The REI Hub is an accounting software, basically, that's designed specifically for the needs of rental property owners and managers. So you have all your categories set up, yard maintenance and utility stuff, property tax, all that type of thing. And so
It's like you're getting QuickBooks, but specifically for property management with
exactly,
specific
right.
categories and specific uses, not the whole stuff that might be extraneous for you.
Yeah, right. And you don't have to learn all of the different accounts and the categories and all that type of thing, and then add the ones that aren't there. It's all kind of set up there, and
Exactly.
it's easy to use. So that's usually $25 a month. Right now, here we are in December of 2024. Right now, they have a half off deal going, so that I think for the first year you can get that half off. And then what it allows you to import all your banking information, incorporate all the rent payment information that comes through TurboTenant, and then you've got kind of all of your accounting all in one place. So.
Okay.
So there are three different cost, pricing levels. One is free. The exception being if you want to pay for the lease documents a la carte, and a $2 ACH rent payment fee that gets charged to the tenant. Pro is $120 a year, $119 a year, and premium is $149 a year. So and it spreads out to be, $10 a month, basically $10 to $15 a month. It's really not too bad. So that does not include REI Hub, the accounting. That's additional. So.
Right. But you get all the other benefits, the free ACH payments, you get a lot of the unlimited leases, things like that. I'll come with one of those paid plans.
Right. And free rent payment, free ACH transfers. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So real quick, you want to go through the pros and cons while we still got a few minutes left?
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'll expedite the pros and cons. The free plan, that there is a free plan is a pro. You get all the advertising and back and forth with, the lead management. You can track your rent, your expenses, and all that type of thing. And then you have options to upgrade to pro or premium that include unlimited property listings, state-specific lease agreements, and e-signing. And it's a very comprehensive software package. You have tools for pretty well every task involved with managing your property, all the way from advertising, screening applications, leases, accounting. There's a maintenance request where you can send photos and also loop a vendor in if you want to. So it's full featured, is what we would say. And they got good reporting, especially even with the free plan, with detailed rent reports. Cons, really just that you don't get access to the Zillow network. So that's why I do it in both. I advertise in both places. And just a pet peeve of mine is that there may be a way to turn it off, but I haven't figured it out. But that it includes my phone number in advertising on certain platforms that it syndicates to.
Right. I've seen that.
So,
yeah.
I don't like getting the phone calls, or text, but oh well. So,
yeah. Okay.
All right, Chris, you want to take us out with a kind of a summary, wrap us up?
Yeah. So again, thanks everybody for watching. Again, like and subscribe, sign up. But basically what we've both Zillow and TurboTenant, and we seem they offer valuable features for landlords, but it really depends on your specific needs. So if you're looking for something simple and easy to use platform, basic features, Zillow might be the perfect choice for you. But if you need more comprehensive features, like a lot of those things that Eli talked about, and you are willing to invest in a paid plan, TurboTenant could be a better fit. So check them out. We'll put the links below. Let us know what you guys think. If you decide one or the other, let us know as well. That'd be great. So,
thanks for watching.
Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Okay.